hear the name Gypsy Rose Blanchard, you probably think of a lot of things. But being a good friend, probably not one of them. Or even relationships for that matter. But that didn't stop Gypsy Rose Blanchard from writing her own list and publishing it in her book titled How to Master the Act of Friending. I'm serious. Yes, the act of being a good friend, because she can't actually be a friend and just be that. She has to act. So let's get into her top 11 master acting tips to be a good friend, or at least pretend to be one. Number 1 on Gypsy's list to master the act of friending is listen closely and attentively. That way you know how to manipulate them later. Number 2, be a vault. Confidentiality and keeping secrets is very important to Gypsy. If it's so important, why does she keep spilling her own secrets? Number 3, lots of laughter required. Number 4 on Gypsy's list of mastering the act of friendship. This one's good. We all need to be reminded of this one. Have genuine care and concern for your friends' well-being and happiness. That can be hard sometimes, right, friends? Gotta remind yourself to care. Number 5, tell the truth. Even if it will hurt, or even if it's gonna be hard. Just like Gypsy told the truth to Ryan Anderson when she busted in the middle of the night and said she had a dream about Ken. Perfect example. Number 6, don't ever judge. Always be a safe zone for your bestie. 7, prove your trust and don't breach theirs. At least in the beginning, right, Gyp? Number 8 is key in mastering the act of being a friend. Notice your friends. Be aware of their moods, their body language, read the room, and be empathetic. Because I guess it's hard for Gypsy, because, certain types of people have trouble with empathy. But great reminder to act like you're empathetic. Love it. 9, don't be passive aggressive. When you're not too happy with a friend, talk it through. And no bless your hearts allowed. Good tip. 10, make sure to have things in common with the person that you're acting like you're their friend with. And also compliment and teach each other about your interests. And number 11, friendship, like love, is never jealous. Yeah. So there you go. That's Gypsy's list for mastering the act of friending. And if you want to be a true friend, don't listen to this list. Because being a true friend is being there for somebody when they need you, or even if they don't. Picking somebody up when they fall down, reaching out a hand to give somebody, sharing in their joys and also their sorrow when they're mad or upset, or even if you're mad or upset. That's what a friend does. And they're not always gonna just be happy for you. That's not what a real friend does. A real friend will, listen to you, but tell you when you're maybe not making a good choice. Or maybe try to advise you in another option or a different direction than what you're heading. It's not all about constantly laughing and having so much fun. Sometimes it's just going over to their house and watching TV or taking a nap. And just enjoying being together when you're not even doing anything at all. You're excited for them. Even if you get into a fight, you can call them back. They'll be there for you. That's what a real friend does. And it's not an act. And I understand Gypsy was trying to like go with this whole, I never had any friends, so I had to make a list on how to be a good friend because I only learned from Disney Channel. But you know, usually if you're a good person, you can be a pretty good friend to somebody. I really love that she like takes her own advice, you know, like when her friend from prison reached out to her on TikTok and was questioning her about her advocacy thing, you know, Nadatha. You're just mad that I blew up and you didn't, and whatever friendship we had is dead. Gypsy, you need to recheck your list. The act is slipping. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Gypsy's master acting friendship list. And don't forget to hit the follow button if you like seeing my videos and you want to see more of them. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye. What's up, you guys? So as we all know, Gypsy Rose has been going around promoting her upcoming book, My Time to Stand. I elected to take one for the team and read her other book, Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. Oof, let's get into it. And it was crazy because not only did Christy work with Dee Dee, the woman who married Gypsy's grandfather after Gypsy's grandmother died, Laura, she also worked with him too. And I also talk about freaking how I knew that Gypsy wanted to her dad. I literally called it. I'll show you exactly why, so just keep watching this. It's crazy. And if you don't follow me already, go ahead and hit the plus sign because this is gonna have to be like a multi-part video because this is just wild. So before I begin, I just want to clarify a couple of things, that this will fall under fair use and I'll be critiquing just certain passages. Any copyright, okay. The first part I'm going to completely skip because it's just basically going over the crime and who exactly Gypsy Rose is. But she goes on to write, growing up with only one person in my life meant I had very little practice with trust and did not learn how to discern people. Having no friends took away the experiences, both good and bad. Obviously, we know she had friends. She was in like a bajillion clubs that make up ordinary friendship. Maybe you can look back on that bestie from middle school, the time she flirted with the boy you were crushing on, and remembering that feeling of betrayal, or maybe it was a pickup basketball game you were left out of that helped you form the idea of who you wanted in your inner circle and who would stab you in the back. It's so funny how she always uses these like strange phrasings with what she did. When it came to relationships of any kind with my dad, my stepmom, attorney, fellow inmates, I was operating without a functional compass to guide my judgment. I was on to say like she couldn't trust her attorney because she just didn't understand that she was learning for the first time that I didn't have leukemia or anemia or any of the illnesses that had defined me. And if you go back and look on a video where I was talking about the dentist or just some of my other videos where I post the medical records, it will say that Gypsy had cancer, leukemia, but had been in remission since the age of 5. There's never a time period in her older years that Dee Dee said she had cancer to a doctor. Okay. And I want you to pay attention to this. One of the other inmates at the county jail saw how much I was struggling with the truth, with my guilt, with my loneliness. She told me I could trust her with my feelings. It felt so damn good to just let every emotion pour out of me. At the time, waiting for trial, I was still desperately holding on to my love for Nick, missing my mother and scared to be alone with so many strangers. The shame and guilt were like two lumps in my throat, making it so hard to talk through what I had done. And this inmate was sharing so much of her story with me, telling me that she understood what I was going through, her being vulnerable with me and helping me see that she was a trustworthy friend. So the ease with which I cried it out to this inmate was a lesson in why we need other people in our lives. You can't just struggle or succeed alone. We are wired not to. My wiring had been haywire for so long, so I decided she was bonding with me and it was safe to form a trust. And then that inmate went and told her public defender and told him everything that I had told her in confidence. I remember my attorney coming to see me and telling me that the inmate that I had opened up to was trying to trade my secrets, which didn't even have much to do with the crime, for a plea deal. She had used me for her own benefit. I had made myself a target of manipulation. Again, you don't remember this in the report that the inmate made? She was saying that Gypsy kept saying that she was going to get away with it and that she probably did seek Nick out specifically to carry out this crime for her. It wasn't anything to do with love or anything like that. This one was a big one for me. Like, you guys remember in the series where she was talking about the step-grandmother and how Dee Dee attempted to unalive her, as well as she starved her, Dee Dee's mother, to death or whatever. And if you read this, it says, well, my mother told me my grandfather, Claude, had a wandering eye. My grandmother died in 1997 when I was young, around 6 years old, I think. My mom was pretty devastated. Soon after her death, like really soon, my grandfather dated a woman named Laura and married her. According to Laura, my mother put Roundup, a toxic chemical fertilizer, in her food. And that's what's really interesting, is that my mother and Laura and my stepmother, Christy, were all nurses' aides at the same hospital and actually all worked together. Isn't that just the craziest coincidence that Laura and Christy both worked together, and now they both came together after to show Dee Dee as some villain in Gypsy's story? It's so funny that's kind of just brushed over, you know, brushed to the side throughout the series. I mean, we knew Christy worked with her, but step granny too? That's suspicious, isn't it? And she went on to talk about how, I thought this was crazy. Please, she says, when my mother would shave me, she would call it making me clean, which we know that's a lie because she wasn't ever shaven, according to Nick, because he had to ask her to do it. I think that the childhood SA that Dee Dee endured and the hints of Munchausen syndrome by proxy my maternal grandmother exhibited resulted in my mother needing her little girl to be clean. Please do not mistake this as me trying to play Freud. Oh my God, if you guys go back to a video that I did a while back, like explaining how this all works together and how Gypsy wanted to be with her dad, Freud is the one that freaking said that daughters are sexually attracted to their dads. And like, I know that Freud is not somebody that is used in current day, like, psychology. Like, I know that, but I was using it to show my thought process and how I got to where I was. And lo and behold, Gypsy's a freaking fan of Mr. Freud because she wants to fuck her dad. Anyway, goes on to talk about her dad and how he found the news out and was like so surprised that why would I believe Clayt, who was her first public defender, that my father had called me on every single birthday and sent Christmas presents. My mother had told me all about the real Rod, like how this one time he came home drunk to me crying as an infant. He supposedly lifted me by the neck and said, "Shut her up or I will." How he had wished for a baby boy instead. She told me once that if I had come out a boy, my dad would have stayed. I heard all the time, of course, how my dad left my mother for another woman, her co-worker Christy, at the hospital. Melissa goes to ask, and that woman is your stepmom, Christy, right? Christy is my mother now. My mother had told me my father had never sent money, had started a new family, and that he was probably abusing and didn't come to see me, which she knows because that's not true because they went to see him. There's multiple pictures. There was just so much to go through and like, but oh my God, I freaking knew it. I knew that she wanted to F her dad. I just knew it. That's so crazy. And I called her out on it. I literally said, man, it reminds me of freaking Freud. I could just scream. That's wild. And the fact that her step-grandmother also worked with Dee Dee. That's so effed up. They literally... It was probably Christy that talked Laura into being with Claude just to hurt Dee Dee. Huh. Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah, follow me for parts. What you guys think in the comments, because this was crazy. Bye, guys.